Hidden beneath the waves lies a mystery older than time itself. Atlantis, a legendary civilization, a beacon of power and wisdom, said to have vanished overnight in a cataclysm of fire and water. Was it a real, ancient superpower lost to the sea, or just a cautionary tale, a myth meant to warn humanity of its own pride? For centuries, this question has captivated explorers, historians, and dreamers alike. Today, we're not just asking the question, we're seeking the answer. Join me as we dive deep into the currents of history, explore what might be forgotten ruins, and attempt to uncover the shocking truth behind the enduring legend of Atlantis. Our story begins not in the depths of the ocean, but in ancient Greece, with the philosopher Plato, around 360 BC. In his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, Plato introduced the world to Atlantis. He described it as a magnificent island nation, located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which we now know as the Strait of Gibraltar. This wasn't just any island, it was an empire. Its founders, he wrote, were half god and half human. They created a utopian civilization, a concentric city of alternating rings of land and water, connected by massive canals and bridges. The land was rich with exotic wildlife, precious metals, and a mysterious element called orichalcum, which was said to shine with a red light and was second only to gold in value. The Atlanteans were brilliant engineers, architects, and navigators. Their military was unmatched, and their influence spread across parts of Europe and Africa. But with great power came great hubris. According to Plato, the divine nature of the Atlanteans became diluted over generations as they interbred with mortals. Greed and corruption took hold. They forgot the virtues of their ancestors and embarked on a ruthless campaign to conquer the known world. Their ambition led them to wage war against Athens, which Plato portrayed as the ideal, virtuous state. In a single, terrible day and night of misfortune, violent earthquakes and floods struck the island. Atlantis, its people, and its memory were swallowed by the sea, vanishing without a trace. Plato's account is incredibly detailed, giving specific measurements for the city, descriptions of its temples, and even the lineage of its kings. But was he writing history, or was he crafting a philosophical allegory, a warning about the dangers of imperial ambition and moral decay? This is the central debate that has fueled the search for Atlantis for over 2,000 years. For centuries, most scholars dismissed Atlantis as a fabrication, a thought experiment created by Plato to illustrate his political theories. But in the late 19th century, things began to change. A writer and amateur archaeologist named Ignatius Donnelly published Atlantis, the Antediluvian World. This book became a sensation. Donnelly argued that Plato's story was a literal historical account, and that Atlantis was the common ancestor of all ancient civilizations, from the Egyptians to the Mayans. He pointed to similarities in pyramids, flood myths, and agricultural practices across the globe as evidence of a single lost mother culture. Donnelly's theories, though widely rejected by mainstream science, ignited the public imagination. The search for Atlantis was no longer just an academic debate. It became a global quest. So, if Atlantis was real, where could it be? The list of potential locations is as vast as the ocean itself. Plato's clue, beyond the Pillars of Hercules, points to the Atlantic Ocean. The Azores, the Canary Islands, and Madeira have all been proposed. These volcanic island chains fit the description of a mountainous island that could have experienced catastrophic geological events. Some theories even place Atlantis in the Caribbean, citing the infamous Bermuda Triangle as a possible location, linking the island's disappearance to supposed mysterious energies in the region. One of the most compelling and scientifically debated theories, however, points us back to the Mediterranean. Around 1600 BC, the island of Thera, now known as Santorini, experienced one of the most violent volcanic eruptions in human history. This Minoan settlement was a thriving hub of art, trade, and culture, with advanced architecture and beautiful frescoes. The eruption, known as the Minoan eruption, was cataclysmic. It blew the center out of the island, creating the crescent-shaped caldera we see today. It triggered massive tsunamis that would have devastated coastal communities across the Aegean Sea, including the powerful Minoan civilization on the nearby island of Crete. The parallels to Plato's account are striking. A powerful island civilization, advanced and prosperous, destroyed in a sudden, violent natural disaster. Could Plato, writing over 1,000 years later, have been recounting a distorted, handed-down memory of the Minoan collapse? The discovery of the remarkably well-preserved ruins of Akrotiri on Santorini, a Minoan Pompeii buried in ash, lends incredible weight to this theory. We see a society frozen in time, with multi-story buildings, sophisticated plumbing, and vibrant art, all hallmarks of an advanced civilization. While Santorini isn't in the Atlantic, some scholars argue that beyond the Pillars of Hercules could have been a mistranslation or a way of saying a very long way away. The Santorini hypothesis remains one of the strongest contenders, grounding the legend in a real, documented geological event. But the Atlantic won't give up its claim so easily. In recent decades, strange underwater formations have been discovered that have rekindled the Atlantic theory. One of the most famous is the Bimini Road, an underwater rock formation off the coast of Bimini in the Bahamas. It consists of large, rectangular limestone blocks arranged in a neat line, appearing almost like a man-made wall or road. Discovered in 1968, it immediately sparked speculation. Was this a remnant of Atlantis? Geologists have largely concluded that the formation is a natural phenomenon known as beach rock, where sand and shells cement together in the intertidal zone. But the symmetry and a few multi-layered blocks keep the debate alive for believers. More recently, sonar mapping of the seafloor off the coast of Spain, near the Donana National Park, has revealed strange, circular, and rectangular shapes buried under mud. This area, once a vast inland sea, is located just beyond the Strait of Gibraltar, fitting Plato's description perfectly. Researchers using satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar have argued these could be the memorials of a lost city, one that was wiped out by a massive tsunami. The evidence is tantalizing, but definitive proof, like an inscription reading "Welcome to Atlantis," remains elusive. Beyond physical locations, the idea of Atlantis has also been embraced by spiritual and esoteric traditions. Think of the psychic Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet. In the early 20th century, Cayce gave numerous life readings in which he claimed to access the Akashic records, a supposed universal library of all knowledge. He described Atlantis in incredible detail, not as a myth, but as a real, technologically advanced society that harnessed the power of crystals for energy, healing, and even flight. According to Cayce, it was the misuse of this immense crystal power that led to a series of 3 cataclysms, the last of which finally sank the island around 10,000 BC. He even claimed that souls from Atlantis had been reincarnating in modern times, to guide humanity away from a similar fate. While there is no scientific evidence for Case's claims, his readings have created a rich, alternative narrative that continues to inspire millions. This mystical version of Atlantis speaks to our desire for a lost golden age, a time when humanity was more connected to nature and the cosmos. So, where does that leave us? We have Plato's philosophical tale, a powerful allegory of pride and punishment. We have the compelling archaeological evidence from Santorini, linking the myth to the real-life collapse of the Minoan civilization. We have tantalizing but inconclusive geological formations in the Atlantic and Spain, keeping the dream of a lost continent alive. And we have the mystical vision of a spiritual and technological utopia. Perhaps the truth of Atlantis isn't a single, simple answer. Maybe Atlantis is all of these things. It's a memory of a real catastrophe, magnified and mythologized over time. It's a philosophical warning that resonates as much today as it did in ancient Greece. And it's a symbol of our own deep-seated yearning for a lost paradise, for a connection to a past that was grander, wiser, and more magical than our own. The search for Atlantis is more than just a hunt for a sunken city. It's a search for ourselves. It's an exploration into the very nature of civilization, memory, and myth. The legend forces us to look at the world around us, at the ruins of ancient cultures, and ask, what if? What if there's more to our history than we've been told? What if, buried beneath the waves or the sands of time, there are secrets waiting to be rediscovered? The mystery endures, and the lure of Atlantis remains as powerful as the ocean that is said to have claimed it. The quest continues. Thanks for joining this deep dive. If you're fascinated by the mysteries of the past, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because our journey is far from over. See you in the next one.